all of you coming in from the Zoom space. There we go. We are up, we are synced, we are running. Go ahead, take a nice deep breath in. We are going to be doing a very specific exercise over the next couple of days, next several, actually couple of weeks, next several meditations. We're going to be diving into Metatron and Metatron's story, who Metatron is, and what Metatron is all about. And ultimately, you've always heard me say that Metatron is you, right? That the Metatron archetype. And so that is the goal, to help you arrive at the ways in which you relate to and connect to the meta and the highest level of consciousness and programming within you, the ways in which you run your diamond ray. So a few key points to begin our journey. There are so much, there is, I should say, so much mythology and stories that through the really last 20,000 years we could go weaving back through space and time and the history of human consciousness, the history of humanity that has been spun together to weave this web, the story of what we understand and know, about the Metatron. And so it's with that I think that as we transition into this new era, this new age, it's important to recognize that the bits and the pieces and the stories that we all have up until this moment in time that has forged our current collective consciousness and understanding of who we are as humans and humanity is in many ways has been spun, is bits and pieces of different threads that have been cross-woven across different cultures and understandings, and also created in moments in time when humanity was also at a different level of consciousness. And so I think it is important that one of the main reasons for re-exploring and visiting the story of Metatron and who Metatron is for each of us, and most importantly, finding what that story is within each of us, is that as we transition into a new window, we are the ones who are needed to rewrite the stories, to understand the stories from most likely from a more expansive perspective, right? If we are able to pop ourselves out of the box of our current understanding of who and what we are, then we also have more resources and access, not only through the internet, but energetically to understanding what this mythology is and truly our full potential. Because I believe that we are starseeds, that we do carry the creator and creation spark. We just don't know how to do it. We haven't been handed down that lineage and that history. And so it comes from me provoking you to start to look at the world through that lens and explore what your bodies and your minds and your souls are really up to, are really here for, and really capable of. And so it's for those reasons and through that lens that I invite you to journey with me through these different names and titles of Metatron, also recognizing that we draw these from the Book of Enoch, but also recognizing that even that in its own way is, left open in many ways to interpretation, the layers of the meanings and the metaphors and the parables that are spoken, while they hold a super dense frequency and in some cases very specific meaning, they also were written in a time that related to a God construct that many view as the current creator. But also if you put it in the 20,000 to 200,000 year perspective, start to weave in these stories of Atlantis and Lemuria and other civilizations that have walked this earth, it becomes a very young God. It becomes a very recent story of understanding the Metatron, and almost could be considered a story that made its way through, was told through Enoch, experienced through Enoch, but actually made its way through, jumping from one timeline, say 200,000 years ago, I'm making these numbers up, to the current timeline that we have the stories of the Metatron and Enoch in. And so if you're willing to get outside of the box with me and just explore that and recognize that maybe these stories are handed down in ways that are not linear, are non-linear, that who knows where we're going to land. But at the very least, I hope it helps you relate to your true power in ways that go beyond your imagination. So Metatron, we know through the book of Enoch, Metatron held 7 names. And if you've journeyed through work with me, especially in Priestess or the Incubator, we embrace each of those names. We look at them as temples and gifts, powers, rainbow, diamond rays that we are capable of harnessing of our own accord. And so with that, today, our title that we are working with the Metatron is He Who Was Most Faithful. What's important to recognize about Metatron is Metatron was human and one of only 2 humans that ascended from being human to the heavens, to being a God figure without ever dying, right? So if Metatron was capable of making this ascension process, then we get to look at our ability to also follow in that imprint, right? Because every mythology, every story was an imprint. It's there because it's imprinted the collective in some way, shape, and form. There is a gift that humanity is meant to embrace in some way, shape, and form. From a sacred science perspective, meaning through transmission and channel, but also blending what Metatron, the stories of Metatron, Enoch's ascension journey to becoming the Metatron are about, we get to blend in the quantum perspectives as well. And so these stories, these meditations that we're going to do, the Metatron code, everything we're up to, is about taking the sacred sciences, what we know of the quantum, blended with interpreting what current science hasn't quite caught up to yet, but interpreting what is there from the mythology and what we know the ancients were capable of achieving. That would be the sacred sciences. Again, taking that, morphing it with the mythology, and then as well with what is discovered, what's in the current transmissions and what you experience. So it's in that lens that we are going to dive into these 7 titles, starting with Enoch, who was known as He Who was God's most faithful. And as we go through the different Metatation, remembering 2 other points. One, Metatron, meta meaning highest of labels. So fruit would be a meta for apples and grapes and oranges. And tron meaning scales of balance, right? How do we balance? And so as a Metatron, you're able to be one of those balancers. You're able, as humans, we're able to identify, to label, to pass the judgment, if you will, right? To discern what is the highest meta for us, and then harness it and make it ours. And it's not only in the 3D material world, it is in a frequency perspective as well. So we get to talk about trust and truth and everything else in between. And recognizing that you as humans, all of us as part of the human tribe have been given that gift and that capacity to carry the God spark, to carry the spark of creation, to take what was, put it together with what is, and make it our own. And so it is my deepest hope that you will meta your journey, your spiritual experiences, everything you're up to, and take what you know of the past, honor it, ritualize it in whatever ways are relevant, put it together with what you know of where you're going and what you want to call in or create. Even if you don't know those things, find the frequency of it, right? And merge that to make it your own. I said 2 points. So Metatron was one. The other is Metatron is known as the diamond ray. When we close our eyes in this work, we look for the light link, we look for the golden light. That would be one facet of the diamond ray. You have to think like a diamond, right? Diamond, there's the camera. Can't quite get it. If this were to be a diamond, it has many facets. And if the light were to shine through it, they refract and transform into multiple colors of the rainbow. As humans, we're only able to see a very limited amount of that diamond ray spectrum. However, our souls are the diamond. We are our bodies. We are the facets, and our mind is what sees that light. And within that light is encoded frequency. Frequency through us comes into form. We translate it into light. We translate it into sound. We translate it into truth, into color. And so we are constantly observing this world around us. But as we become those who are most faithful, we get to embrace our own inner power and capacity to make that light our own, to draw it not only down and in, but up and through the earth, through the density of our bodies, and transform it into something greater, to have the faith, as Metatron, as Enoch did, that we are on a very specific journey, that in some way we also are creator gods, goddesses. We are working out what I like to call the God project or the starseed project, right? To become those diamond rays. The Metatron himself, often referred to as a him because of Enoch, but also carries both masculine and feminine energy. Another aspect of the Metatron that is understood is that the Metatron are like a neural network. They were before the stories of Enoch, and in many ways, Enoch could translate how all of this came together. They are like neural networks, like hubs, as we think of the cloud, and there being servers within the cloud that harness and store energy. The Metatron, as the creators, if you will, that brought humanity together as the mind of God, the intention of God, these different aspects, in the same way you wear different hats and different personalities and different roles. The Metatron also harness those different roles, those different understandings, the different DNA that has been brought together from a celestial space, as well as converged with the human space, but many races amongst the celestial beings, as well as the many races of humanity. And someone was the designer behind that, right? Many someones, if you will. And those have become the Metatron, the mind of God, the synchronization of all of these different wills and intentions and thoughts, in the same way you are the synchronization of being a daughter or a son, a mother or a father, sister, brother, friend, you name it, you get the drift. So with that, we've queued up the Meta, we've queued up the Metatron, and we are going to journey in. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath in. And if your eyes aren't closed, go ahead and allow them to flutter closed, immersing, thinking yourself into that inner realm. And we are going to do a light link today. This is the imprint, the energy for Enoch's title as he who was most faithful was achieved by not having connection to the God spark, to the God light, and yet having this irrevocable faith, no matter what, had transcended. Enoch is believed to have lived about 350 years. Again, when we hear these stories, sometimes it's literal, sometimes it's figurative. But I want to invite you to allow your mind to drift backwards to how different your body would be if it were a 350-year mark. Enoch was younger, per se, of those who also lived in his time. As the frequency shifts, so do the yawns and the body shift. And so let's begin with that light link, that point of connection, as you imagine the sun shining down on the top of your head. But allowing yourself to also transcend through space and time, to harness Enoch, what it would be like to not have connection, to be in doubt. Or I should say, not have connection in the way we can imagine and close our eyes. And to feel the sun and to know that God is present no matter what. no matter how dark or challenged circumstances or things may be, no matter how cursed at that time, that would have been the language that was used by the gods or the God, and to have such irrevocable faith that God is always present. Today, in our day, space, and time, these darkness and the challenges, everything that we come up against are so different than what the construct during Enoch's time would have been. But in many ways, we just have to translate it into our modern metaphors, our modern experiences. We could look at the world and see the matrix and the density within the matrix and the challenges. And so I want to journey with you into Enoch's space as we do this light link, just feeling the sun and the presence of the sun and imagining walking down a path in ancient lands and ancient times, connecting to the earth, allowing the earth to transport you, to carry you into Enoch's shoes. And as you walk, you see soils beneath your feet that are foreign, different. And you see a river that has not yet been envisioned emerging before you. And all around, you know that you must cross the river. Swimming is too much, the current is too strong. Even the reason why, maybe, is in question. Life is good. You're settled where you are. And yet, because of your faith, you know you are on a journey. You know you're on a mission. There is something within you calling you forward. And so it is this faith that you allow to begin to carry you into the waters of the river. Ankle deep, shin deep, knee deep, mid-thigh deep. Waist deep, belly button deep, up to the bottom of your rib cage. And the current is getting stronger and stronger to the point that you're starting to feel your feet slip out from below you. And it's at this moment that you probably should start to swim. Maybe you know how, maybe you don't. But the current is so strong that you are certain you will be carried through and downstream, and that is not, in this moment, the journey. And so instead of raising your feet and starting to swim, you gaze to the sun above and you pray. You seek the connection to the divine, to the spirit. You open your heart to your ability to see the potential, to know a path without knowing it in your conscious mind, to allow yourself to be led along it through your heart. And as you do, the more you anchor yourself into the belief that you are on this path of blind faith, that the waters begin to part. Not only do they part, but your clothes, as the waters part before you, even your clothes drain dry. And instead of simply emerging on the other side of the waters, you see a golden path being forged in a new realm, a new dimension before you. And as you step into this realm, this golden city of light, you let yourself be drawn, be pulled to the blessings of this sacred connection. For what if this golden city were all around you in your 3D worlds, today and right here and right now? What if it wasn't an empty shore on the other side of the river, but an entire dimensional realm that simply reveals itself with you believing that you are a citizen of this realm, that you harness the power and the gifts that are required to be a participating citizen, that you truly are a being of light. You are not just a child of God, of the Creator, but one of the many creators who slipped through the band of forgetfulness to come into the density, to learn from the kindergarten perspective what it means to harness light, to learn what it means to harness that light within a body of density that has its own gifts and abilities. We're recording what has been and what will be. And through that, you are able to be grounded, to be connected and of the earth, to wield this light. And so as you step into the heart of this golden city, the light dissolves in a beautiful paradise. A tropical paradise emerges. Waterfalls, trees, a garden of the beginning. And as it does, a beautiful diamond ray, it's as though the sun has been absorbed into your mind, emerges. As though the inside of your skull is being lit like a light bulb has been turned on. And it is from here you begin to recognize the different layers, the different dimensional layers that you are capable of navigating and traversing by simply having faith. As we move through the Golden City, we are harnessed within our point of connection, our sovereignty, our inner sovereignty. As we come into the tropical paradise, we are within the molecular structure of our cells, verdant and green, abundant. And within each of these cells and in the center of the tropical paradise rests a waterfall and a pond through which we can dive to return home, to journey across the band of forgetfulness and harness our infinite light and power. So as you stand and we look at these three different dimensions, four if we consider where you're actually currently sitting, I invite you to dive into those waters head first, into this pond, into the molecular that is symbolic for your molecular structure. Dive in and let yourself feel the sinking to the depths, to the darkness, to the bottom, to a brilliant light that begins to emerge in the darkness, a white light that you feel drawn to like a magnet. Let yourself sink in and feel pulled into that light until there is nothing but you being immersed in that white light. And like a gateway or a doorway, portal within, you pass through, and from the white light, you pass into complete and total darkness on the other side, as though you've stepped through. And from here, we are outside of space and time, timelessness, trusting, letting yourself feel your abilities and your gifts to harness these multiple dimensions all in one, your ability to have faith, to harness the source of creation. All within this human mind, this human construct, this human avatar, all within the density of Earth. As you drift through the darkness, you begin to see ribbons of light, of color, intention, and love, harnessing, coming together as one, rolling together. You begin to pull on those ribbons, those streams of light, as you see them going back through the portal of brightness, the diamond ray being forged. You begin to turn around to follow those ribbons through the portal again. All the white light emerging up through the pond, into the waterfall, and the sun shining down upon you again. And so today, our focus is on connection. Faith is about connection. It's about believing in what can't be seen. It's about trusting within our heart. The faith is about believing in what comes through from our heart and our intuition. Enoch was simply able to leverage his intuition to follow the golden path, to trust so implicitly, to surrender so deeply to the constructs of the mind and the matrix and everything around, that he could see beneath the layers through his heart. We hear a lot of talk about light language. And truly what it is the ability to interpret the sensations, the energies that are beaming through the heart. And the more refined and honed we get in that, whether it's through imagining color, or seeing different dimensional space, feeling different dimensional space, as you bring this light into your mindset, into your perspective, it is trusting and knowing that you are one who is most faithful. What does that faith mean for you to go deeper? Let yourself draw those ribbons of light now into your heart. Feel your heart surging as your power expands. Let your energy build in new ways and new shapes and new forms. Don't try to force it into the boxes of your mind and what you believe to be true. Trust that when you see a bird or a dragonfly or some other spirit being, or get some random call that reminds you of someone somewhere, that it may in fact be spirit whispering through the dimension, showing you you are on that golden path. Taking another nice deep breath in here. I want you to feel into the next moment as we conclude the meditation, how you'll sit quietly and then open your eyes. But as you open them, imagining that golden path leading you back to your next activity, to the next phone call, maybe feeling that golden path like a labyrinth spiraling around you as you simply hold this light, allowing for that molecular temple of the waterfall to crash through, to cleanse away whatever density is living within you. A few more breaths in. Welcome back. Namaste. So much